We live in a world saturated with information. It bombards us from every direction, our phones, our TVs, our computers. But what happens when this information is weaponized? Welcome to the age of information warfare. This isn't a battle fought with tanks and troops. It's a war waged with bytes and bots, algorithms and artificial intelligence. The casualties aren't counted in bodies, but in eroded trust, fractured societies, and the very foundation of truth itself. Today, the front lines are digital, the soldiers are hackers and trolls, and the weapons are misinformation and propaganda. In this new age of conflict, the enemy doesn't necessarily want to destroy our infrastructure, they want to dismantle our reality. To understand the digital battleground we find ourselves in today, we need to trace those roots back to their source. The Cold War, a time of geopolitical tension, nuclear brinkmanship, and a constant battle for hearts and minds. The Soviet Union, masters of espionage and subterfuge, understood that true power lay not just in military might, but in shaping the narrative. They called it active measures, a sophisticated blend of propaganda, disinformation, and psychological warfare. Fast forward to the 21st century, and the battleground has shifted. The internet, once hailed as a tool for democratizing information, has become a breeding ground for disinformation and manipulation. State actors, rogue organizations, and even individuals can leverage these platforms to spread propaganda, sow discord, and manipulate public opinion on an unprecedented scale. This is information warfare in the digital age, a complex, ever-evolving threat that transcends borders and ideologies. The Cold War was a time of intense paranoia and mistrust. The Soviet Union, shrouded in secrecy, viewed the West with deep suspicion. To combat this perceived threat, the Soviets developed a unique form of warfare, active measures. This wasn't about winning hearts and minds through persuasion, it was about manipulating perceptions, sowing chaos, and undermining their enemies from within. Orchestrating these elaborate schemes was the KGB, the Soviet Union's notorious intelligence agency. These individuals were masters of deception, skilled in the art of disinformation, forgery, and psychological manipulation. The beauty of active measures from the Soviet perspective was their deniability. A forged document planted here, a rumor spread there. The goal was to create a ripple effect, to set in motion a chain of events that would ultimately benefit the Soviet Union. The KGB's toolkit for waging information warfare was as diverse as it was devious. Disinformation, the lifeblood of active measures, involved spreading outright lies and fabrications disguised as legitimate news. Forged documents, meticulously crafted to implicate rivals or sow discord, were another favored tactic. Propaganda, a more overt form of manipulation, was also employed extensively. The Soviets excelled at crafting compelling narratives that painted the West as morally bankrupt and the Soviet Union as a beacon of peace and progress. Beyond these core tactics, the KGB employed an array of psychological operations designed to exploit existing societal divisions and amplify feelings of unrest. The goal was to create an atmosphere of confusion and distrust, making it difficult for the public to discern fact from fiction. The KGB understood that the most effective campaigns were not about achieving immediate results, but about slowly chipping away at their adversaries' credibility and resolve over time.
The early years of the Cold War saw the Soviet Union hone its information warfare tactics through a series of audacious campaigns.
One notable example was Operation Infection, a disinformation campaign that sought to blame the United States for the AIDS epidemic.
The KGB fabricated a story claiming that the virus was created in a US military lab, and they disseminated this lie through sympathetic journalists, scientists, and even government officials.
Another chilling example was the Seat 12A incident, in which the KGB planted a forged document implicating the CIA in the assassination of Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme.
These early active measures campaigns, while seemingly disparate, shared a common thread. They all sought to exploit pre-existing societal anxieties and vulnerabilities.
By tapping into fears about disease, government overreach, and foreign interference, the KGB was able to amplify existing divisions and sow discord within Western societies. The Berlin Wall fell, the Soviet Union dissolved, and the Cold War faded into history.
Yet, from the ashes of empire, a new threat emerged.
At the heart of this resurgence stood Vladimir Putin, a former KGB officer.
Putin's formative years were spent in the KGB, honing his skills in espionage.
The collapse of the Soviet Union left him disillusioned.
To Putin, the West was a rival to be undermined.
His rise through Russian politics was swift and calculated. As Putin consolidated power, the remnants of the Soviet information warfare apparatus were dusted off, modernized, and unleashed with renewed vigor.
The techniques honed during the Cold War, disinformation, propaganda, and psychological manipulation, were given a 21st century makeover, leveraging the speed and reach of the internet to devastating effect.
Putin understood that the internet was a double-edged sword.
While it had the potential to spread democracy and empower citizens, it could also be used to amplify lies, sow discord, and manipulate public opinion on an unprecedented scale.
Under his leadership, Russia invested heavily in cyber capabilities, creating an army of hackers, trolls, and bots tasked with infiltrating social media platforms, spreading disinformation, and disrupting Western democracies.
One of Putin's most potent weapons in this new information war was the state-controlled media.
Television channels like RT, formerly Russia Today, and Sputnik News were transformed into slickly produced propaganda outlets, spewing a constant stream of anti-Western rhetoric and disinformation to a global audience.
These outlets, often disguised as legitimate news organizations, provided a veneer of credibility to Kremlin-backed narratives, making it increasingly difficult for audiences to distinguish fact from fiction. The digital age provided fertile ground for Russia's modernized active measures campaigns. Social media platforms became the new battleground for information warfare.
Russia could now inject its propaganda directly into the veins of the internet.
Troll farms employed thousands to spread disinformation online. These trolls would infiltrate online communities and manipulate conversations.
Bots mimicked human behavior to inflate pro-Kremlin propaganda.
Russia's modernized active measures strategy transcended the digital realm, blending seamlessly with real-world actions to create a potent form of hybrid warfare. Military interventions, like the annexation of Crimea and the support for separatists in eastern Ukraine, were accompanied by sophisticated disinformation campaigns designed to confuse international observers, sow discord among adversaries, and manipulate public opinion.
In these hybrid conflicts, the lines between truth and falsehood, between aggressor and victim, became deliberately blurred. Russian media outlets, operating in lockstep with military objectives, would flood the information space with contradictory narratives, casting doubt on Western accounts of events and creating a fog of war that obscured Russia's true intentions.
This hybrid approach to warfare proved highly effective in undermining Western responses to Russian aggression. The constant barrage of disinformation and propaganda created a climate of uncertainty and division, making it difficult for Western governments to build consensus for decisive action.
As Vladimir Putin was meticulously rebuilding Russia's information warfare machine in the early 2000s, a brash American businessman with a penchant for publicity and a nose for profitable opportunities was already on the Kremlin's radar.
Donald Trump, a name synonymous with opulent hotels, high-stakes deals, and a relentless pursuit of self-promotion, had set his sights on Russia as early as the 1980s, seeing the crumbling Soviet empire as fertile ground for capitalist ventures.
Trump's early forays into Russia were marked by a mix of ambition and naivete. Eager to plant his gilded Trump flag on Moscow's skyline, he courted Soviet officials, explored business deals, and even toyed with the idea of building a grand hotel just steps from the Kremlin.
While these early ventures ultimately faltered, they offered a glimpse into Trump's fascination with Russia, a fascination that lingered long after the Soviet Union dissolved.
Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, as Trump's business empire expanded, so too did his Russian entanglements.
In 2015, as Donald Trump descended the golden escalator in Trump Tower to announce his candidacy, few could have predicted the seismic shift in American politics.
His campaign, fueled by populism and nationalism, tapped into voter discontent.
Beneath the surface, whispers of hidden ties to Russia and a potential quid pro quo with the Kremlin emerged.
His campaign team reportedly engaged in back-channel communications with Russian individuals.
The release of hacked emails from the Democratic National Committee fueled suspicions of collusion.
The timing of the leaks suggested a coordinated effort to influence the election.
As the 2016 election reached its fever pitch, a bombshell report by former British intelligence officer Christopher Steele sent shockwaves through the American political landscape.
The Steele dossier contained unverified allegations about Trump's ties to Russia, including claims of compromising entanglements.
The dossier's allegations, while never verified, painted a picture of a compromised candidate, beholden to a foreign power.
The report's claims, leaked to the media, fueled a frenzy and sparked calls for an investigation into Trump's Russian connections.
The Steele dossier remains a subject of intense debate, impacting the narrative surrounding Trump's presidency.
The 2016 U.S. presidential election wasn't just a contest between two candidates. It was a battle for the very soul of America.
The nation was deeply divided, grappling with issues of race, class, and identity.
Social media, once a platform for connection, had become a breeding ground for echo chambers and outrage.
Into this volatile mix stepped Russia, not as a conquering army, but as a cunning saboteur.
They understood that the most effective way to weaken a nation from within wasn't through brute force, but by turning its own citizens against each other. The weaponization of division, how Russia targeted American voters. Russia's information warfare campaign was a carefully calibrated assault on the American psyche.
They focused their efforts on demographics and regions where their interference could have the greatest impact.
One of Russia's primary targets was African Americans, spreading messages of anger and distrust.
Russian trolls created fake social media accounts mimicking black activist movements.
They promoted conspiracy theories about voter suppression and discouraged participation.
Another key target was white working-class voters, amplifying messages about job losses and immigration.
Russia exploited these anxieties by amplifying messages about job losses and the decline of American manufacturing. Beyond the ballot box, the lasting impact of 2016.
The intelligence community concluded with high confidence that Russia interfered in the election. While they haven't found evidence that Russia tampered with vote tallies, the act of a foreign power attempting to influence an American election is a chilling reminder of democracy's fragility.
The 2016 election was a four-alarm fire, exposing the vulnerability of our democratic institutions.
The damage went far beyond the ballot box, leaving a legacy of distrust and division.
Social media companies faced intense scrutiny for their role in amplifying disinformation.
The decentralized nature of the internet makes it difficult to combat the spread of propaganda.
The 2016 election was a watershed moment in information warfare.
The battle for hearts and minds is now waged on our smartphones and in our news feeds.
The arsenal of deception, tools of the digital information warrior. The digital age has revolutionized warfare, not with bigger bombs or faster jets, but with weapons that target our minds, not our bodies.
The new arsenal of information warfare is diverse and insidious, employing technology, psychology, and deception to manipulate perceptions.
These tools are accessible to anyone with an internet connection and a desire to exploit them.
One of the most potent tools is the Humble Bot, an automated software program. These digital foot soldiers can be deployed en masse to like, share, and comment on social media posts.
More sophisticated techniques involve artificial intelligence to create deepfakes. Videos that are so realistic, they can make it seem as if anyone is saying or doing anything.
As technology advances, so too does the potential for manipulation, blurring the lines between reality and fabrication.
Beyond fake news, deepfakes, bots, and the erosion of reality. The term fake news barely scratches the surface of the information warfare threat we face today.
Deepfakes manipulate audio and video with alarming realism. Imagine a deepfake video of a political candidate swinging an election. The implications are staggering, and the potential for harm is immense. We are rapidly approaching a point where seeing is no longer believing. We are constantly bombarded with information, much of it designed to mislead and manipulate. The line between entertainment and propaganda has become dangerously blurred. Fake accounts and online communities amplify messages, creating the illusion of grassroots support. The digital landscape is awash in disinformation, making it hard to discern fact from fiction. Malicious actors exploit algorithms to spread disinformation and manipulate public opinion. They create viral content using emotional appeals and inflammatory language. Algorithms prioritize content that elicits strong emotional responses regardless of its truth. This creates a cycle of confirmation bias and polarization. Social media platforms designed to connect us have become tools of division.
Amplified echoes, how media and social networks shape our reality.
Traditional media outlets now jostle for space alongside social media giants, each shaping our perceptions of the world. This constant barrage of information has profound implications for how we understand and navigate an increasingly complex world.
Social media platforms have become the new public squares, where we gather to debate, share, and connect. Yet, these platforms have become echo chambers, amplifying our biases and making it harder to distinguish fact from fiction.
The digital information ecosystem is driven by profit.
Social media platforms aim to generate revenue by keeping users glued to their screens.
Engagement is the lifeblood of these platforms, often at the expense of accuracy and truth.
Sensationalized content is rewarded, while fact-based reporting struggles for attention.
Misinformation spreads like wildfire, amplified by algorithms prioritizing engagement.
In the digital age, trust is a valuable commodity, easily exploited by those seeking to manipulate and deceive.
Malicious actors bypass traditional media, using social media influencers and bot networks to spread disinformation.
Influencers, with their massive followings, can inadvertently amplify false narratives.
These influencers often become conduits for disinformation, lending legitimacy to misleading content.
A single post can reach millions, spreading misinformation before the truth catches up.
But human influencers are just one part of the equation.
Bot networks, disguised as real users, inflate the popularity of certain narratives.
These bots manipulate trending topics and harass users who challenge their narratives.
The combination of influencers and bots creates a potent cocktail for disinformation.
Malicious actors leverage these tools to manipulate public opinion and influence elections. We stand at a crossroads in the digital age, facing an unprecedented challenge to the very fabric of our reality. Information warfare, once the domain of shadowy intelligence agencies, has been democratized through social media and online forums. The sheer volume of distorted information has created a minefield where truth is elusive. Our digital lives are saturated with narratives designed to inflame emotions and sow discord. It's a world where seeing is no longer believing, and outrage is traded for clicks and shares. This barrage of disinformation erodes trust in institutions and undermines social cohesion. The challenges posed by information warfare are daunting, but we are not powerless.
The fight for truth begins with reclaiming our agency as consumers of information. Rediscovering the lost art of critical thinking is essential.
We must break free from echo chambers and seek diverse perspectives.
Critical thinking must become a lifelong pursuit.
Recognize manipulation and develop healthy skepticism.
Engage with the digital world thoughtfully and critically.
Reclaiming reality requires a collective effort and commitment to critical thinking.
It's a fight for future generations for whom the digital world will be the only reality.
The fight against information warfare is not a battle we can win alone.
It requires education, media literacy, and holding tech companies accountable.
Education systems must equip students with critical thinking skills and media literacy tools.
This means teaching them to evaluate the credibility of sources and identify bias.
Media organizations must prioritize accuracy and fairness over sensationalism.
Tech giants have a moral obligation to address harmful content on their platforms.
It's a fight we cannot afford to lose.